Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Utah. This is Tina Forsyth. We're going to give just a couple of minutes till 1 o'clock, and then we'll start our webinar. Thanks for being here. Okay, looks like we have a good group of people here. We're excited for you to join us today. Thank you for being here. As I thought about what I wanted to present, I thought back to the different Mays that I have encountered in my life, especially in parenthood, and those feelings that come up as the end of the school year is upon us and it has ended, and then summer's upon us. And so we're going to talk about summertime blues today and how to beat those. But first, a little about our company. Obviously, you know a little bit about us because that's why you're here. But we were founded in 2016 by Carrie Rogers Whitehead, and we create this holistic education for digital citizenship. And so we like to educate not only the students, but the teachers and the parents as well, because I think we all know that we have to work together because there's a lot going on online all the time and it's constantly changing. And so by digital responsibility, staying on top of the things that are coming out, the challenges that we're facing, then we can use a prevention science framework to approach those in a positive way, to see maybe issues that might be there and come up with solutions. And so those solutions are in the form of skills and processes that we can, and tools that we can teach to create good, positive digital citizens, which we all want to be. We all know the problems that come when we don't have that, when we have that negative vibe out there. And so we've got this wonderful mechanism for communication that often makes it so we can't communicate better because we're not communicating in the most right and positive ways. So we're going to work a little bit on that today and move forward. So who am I? So I am Tina Forsyth. I have been mentoring youth and parents and other parent mentors for about 15 years now, and in my community and also on a worldwide stage. And I love to teach. I love teaching all kinds of subjects. And this one has really become near and dear to my heart because of the fact that I have 10 children. And so I have seen what has happened from when my oldest children first had iPods, right? And then they could start to communicate on those and a little bit, and then got their first flip phones. And now we're in a whole new world. Our teenagers and younger kids sometimes have devices, smartphones, and that's created some definite challenges in my family. And so I have been working towards overcoming those and seeing them and seeing where I need to make changes as a parent and also as a user myself, setting that example. And so I want to share some of those today, and also how we can dispel the fear or any challenges we might see ahead with summer coming, which means they're not in school for 8 hours a day. What's going to happen in that time? And we're going to talk about that today. Anyway, I come to you today from the St. George Opera House. I love theater. It's a great passion of mine, and I'm a costume designer, and I have a big costume parade tonight. So I am here and working on that, and happy to be here with you as well. That's what I like to do in my spare time. Now I want to know a little bit about you. So I want you to be able to use your chat box. I hope you can find that. Mine's on the right hand side, but I have a little bit of a different viewpoint than you might have. But I want each of you to just type in where you are from real quick. We'll have a poll in just a minute. Well, you can go ahead and do the poll. How do you feel about the summer? It's coming. Our kids are going to be home. How are you feeling about that as a parent? Go ahead and fill that out. Oh, look at you guys. That's fabulous. Most of you are excited. Some are unsure. Okay, but nobody's stressed. Awesome. Well, you guys are probably going to have a lot of great ideas for me today, and I look forward to you guys sharing some through the chat box. So if you'll just post real quick in the chat box where you're from, city and state, just so we get a good idea. Columbus, South Carolina, Fort Walton Beach, Florida, Newark, Ohio, Chicago. Wow, we're from all over the place. Georgia, Yucca Valley, California, South Jersey, Rochester, New York. I'm going to New York in December. Can't wait. Apple Valley, been there. Great. Well, you will each have some local and regional things that you might be able to add later as we come up with some ideas of how we're going to beat the summertime blues. And I'm already excited about the fact that you guys are feeling positive for the most part about the upcoming summer. Some parents get really stressed. So first of all, let's go back to our own summers. We lived in a different day and age. I was just watching a video someone had posted of a bunch of kids on their banana seat bikes. Remember those? Maybe you're not as old as me. And on those makeshift jumps. And they say, oh, they don't do that anymore. They don't have those jumps made out of just the most flimsy pieces of plywood, and just kid after kid going off and just biffing it, right? And getting back up and putting a Band-Aid on it and getting back to it. So I want you to think for a minute back to your summers. Okay, I want you to think how they felt. Do you have good memories? Were you bored? What did you do if you were bored? Okay, we all know what happens if we tell our mom we're bored, right? She'll find something for us to do. So we don't want to go that route. We know what happens nowadays, though, with boredom. And so, okay, let's take a quick step back and see if any of these look familiar to you. Was your baseball spent with, was your summer spent with baseball, either playing or watching it? What about swimming? Did you have a pool? Did you go to the big city pool? Did you have someone in the neighborhood that let you come over? Or did you do those slip and slides? I remember putting a slip and slide on the cement once. Bad idea. I was young, dumb. Playing board games, Monopoly. My son, my 10-year-old, just told me the other day he's never played Monopoly. He and I were playing a game of Sorry and having a good time. And he's like, I've never played Monopoly, so I need to get a Monopoly set. What about reading a good book? That same son, he just started Harry Potter 6, and he's read Harry Potter 1 through 5 in the past month, and he's shooting to finish 7 by the time summer starts. And so he's like, I don't know what I'm going to read this summer. I might need some good suggestions for him. He's a reader. Okay, what did you like to read in the summer? Okay, did you build a sandcastle? Probably not that fancy. I grew up in Southern California. Yes, some lived on their bike. Love it. Pogo sticks, swimming, sports, skateboarding. Loved it. Yeah. The banana seat. Lynn had the banana seat. We had something at the end of our street. We lived on a little creek, Aliso Creek, down in El Toro, California, and they had this jump that went, what was it called? The Devil's Dive or something. I never got the nerve to go on it. It was crazy, and by the time you got down and up and hit the air, you were flying. The boys loved to do it. I watched, but I never got up the courage to do it, or maybe stupidity. I don't know which one. I'll let you make that judgment. Okay, sandcastles. Riding our bikes everywhere, everywhere. I had a bike, beach cruiser, and so my girlfriend would be on my handlebars, and we just went everywhere. So, I mean, do you have thoughts like, oh, did you have at least one summer that was just the ideal? Maybe you went camping or to scout camp or something like that, that just you look back and like, oh, that was a summer. That's how it should have been. But are all of our summers ideal? Or are sometimes they really are real? Is this what it looks like sometimes now? So we've got screens, of course, on our phones up there and kind of isolated. Here we've got, oh, mom, there's nothing to eat. Just a lonely old, lemon wedge in the fridge, or at least that's what all they see. They might open it up and you might see full of food and they're like, mom, we have nothing to eat. Maybe kids are just sitting in front of TV or playing games on the laptop or just bored out of their gourd. So what we want to do is create a vision of what we want our family to look like this summer and to feel like. And we're going to talk about this. So here's a picture of my family. Some of them. I have 10 kids. These are a few of the older ones. And this is at Disneyland. And so what I want to point out from this slide is that things aren't always as they seem. When I walked up upon this scene, now I had taken my grandchildren onto some of the fun kiddie rides, and we were meeting at happiest but Disneyless. Thanks, Shirley, for your comment. So I walk upon this scene after taking my children on some of the fun kiddie rides, which I love at Disneyland. And we were all meeting up, and this is what I see. So I stopped and I snapped a picture, and I'm glad I did, because in my judgy mind, my mama mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't get these kids off the phone. Some of them are parents, and I didn't say anything. I just took the picture and laughed, and then I showed it to them. And so what you need to understand about this picture is that they were actually online getting fast passes for everybody so that we could spend more time on rides together. And so I love that they were using their devices for positive things. It doesn't always look like that. And I think it's very easy to judge. It was very quick and easy for me to judge the wrong way. And I'm working on that. One of the ways I'm working on that too, by setting that example, is when I'm on my phone, is I'm kind of narrating to my children what I'm doing. A friend of mine taught this through her example to me, is she would narrate, oh, I'm messaging so-and-so about this, so that they knew that mom wasn't just on all the time scrolling or whatever. She was doing positive things. She was learning, she was communicating. And I think that's a wonderful example I'm trying to follow. Okay, so Disneyland is a great place on earth. This is what we normally look like. So it wasn't just on our phones. We were just using those to keep together and communicate. It was actually a great tool to use there. So we want to use our devices as tools, right? All right. So what are some productive, educational, and fun activities that we can do? So what I want to do, and we're going to have a blog post that I hope you'll come back onto our website and read. I have a lot of good ideas on there because I realize, a lot of what we hear, we don't always retain. Some of us are very visual. So I wrote a blog post to go with this so that you can have that information to review. And in it is an activity to do as your family. So this is something we actually do in theater, is when we put on a production, whether I'm directing or as an actor, when we take a script, and really we're writing a story about our summer, aren't we? We're planning ahead for that. So when we take this script in a play or a script in our real life that we're trying to write and create a vision for, we use our five senses. This is how we do it in theater. And so when I read a script, I go through and I write every image or feeling that I get for the senses. Sound, the sound of maybe tinkling bells, or the sound of Christmas carols, depending on what show I'm doing. Right now, I'm working on Pirates of Penzance. So what are the things I'm getting from it? Now that script's already written, so I might, get the smell of gunpowder and the sound of cannons booming and the taste of rum. Okay, so that's kind of how I do it as a director and actor, getting those five senses involved. But the way that we're going to do it is we're creating the story ourselves. We're creating the environment. And so in the activity, you're going to write down, take the five senses, and you'll do this with your family. And there's detailed instructions in the blog post. And you're going to write those five senses down. And you can even add a sixth sense, which would be like your heart or soul, because that feeling is different than a tangible feeling of touch. So I'm going to invite each of you to do that right now. If you have a piece of paper or you can just think in your mind, you're welcome to type it into our chat box here as well. So our five senses are sight. Let's see if I can get these right. Sight, sound, which is hearing, right? Touch, smell, and taste. And then if you want to, you can put that heart feeling or heart or soul, okay? And add that on. All right, so the question then is, how do you want summer? What does it look like to you? Does it look like people on their screens? Does it look like sunny days? So I want you to think, what do you want it to look like? What is your visual? Okay. What do you want it to sound like? Laughter, music. What do you want it to feel like? Sand between your toes, the cool rush of water over your face. Be descriptive, okay? What do you want it to smell like? Not like the old, what is that stuff on the beach? I can't think of the name right now. That stinky stuff that washes up on the beach. What do you want it to taste like? Watermelon? I recently bought some coconut popsicles. Oh, that's a good taste of summer. What do you want summer to taste like? And what do you want it to feel like in here? Okay. Do you want excitement? Do you want relaxation? Do you want nostalgia? Come up with those descriptive words. And you're going to do this as a family. Each individual is going to do it. And then you're going to come up with activities to create that physically. So this is kind of like what you would call maybe like a spiritual creation. We do this every Sunday night. My family does. We sit down and we plan out the week ahead. And what does it look like? Who needs to be where, what, when, all of that sort of thing. And if we don't do that on the weeks where we miss that, we don't get that feeling of accomplishment. Things get dropped. And so if we really want to be intentional about our summers, you need to have this planning activity for your family. And so I would encourage you as parents first to have it between you, to have an idea of where you're going and what you're envisioning, but then bring your kids in. And all the details are in the blog post. And so please take part in that and look for that. So I want to give you today, though, some resources online, because you know what? It's it's a losing battle if we are just going to go head to head with our kids about screens. I do it all the time, and I feel like we lose every time I try to do that. And so it really requires a lot of creative solutions. We can't just take the phones away. Right now, my son and I are working on a contract for phones. And so something so that no longer is the issue between he and I. Now we just go to the contract. And I'm looking forward to that. We're still in the process of working on that. Okay, so I want to give you some resources for productive, educational, and fun online activities. I think we all want to keep our kids' brains going this summer, right? And not kind of deadening, but we also want to give them opportunities to explore. That's one of the great things of summer. Not always quite as safe to go exploring like when we were kids. We would take off and it's like, be home when the sun goes down, and then we'll see them later, right? It's not quite safe enough to do that anymore. So, so we are going to expand the real world through the virtual one. And we're going to inspire initiative to help seek out healthy online and physical activities. We want to connect with the family and friends through a balance of online and physical activities. Teach time awareness and accountability, and create a safe space for your child to explore. So let's go through some of these, okay? So for our young ones, and just so you know, with those blogs, I was looking through them the other day, and there are some great blogs about online good sites and that are age appropriate, some for younger kids. But here, I've got a few here for preschool. So, and these are very interactive. They're safe, they are proven, and you don't need to worry about content on here and things like that. So, Vroom, Starfall. My son my 10-year-old, he didn't really talk much till he was 3. He was the youngest of 10, so he didn't need to talk, right? Everyone talked for him. But he started Starfall when he was 3, and he was reading by the time he was 4. And because it was so engaging and fun for him. And I didn't let him on too much, because if he sits online too much, he gets a little climbing the walls. Sesame Street has some fun things on it, educational and friends on there. I mean, I remember Sesame Street characters as my friends. And there's a site called Bedtime Math and Fun Brain Junior. Now, I think the Fun Brain might be a paid website. It used to be free, but they have a lot of science things and experiments and things like that that are age appropriate for different ages. There's a Fun Brain Junior for the younger kids and a regular Fun Brain for older, and then PBS Kids. And these are all listed in the blog as well. We can't actually go onto the websites, but I invite you to check these out, because as you create what you want your kids to do for summer, I think it's always a great idea to invite them, not say, okay, you have to spend this much time on this website before you get to do something fun, right? My oldest son, when we had our family meetings many years ago, taught me, Mom, I was in a class, and his teacher was a dad, and he said they always started with the refreshments first, like the treat first. I thought, what a brilliant idea. Instead of saying, okay, if you're good, you'll get a treat at the end, right? They started having fun from the beginning. They start with the game, they start with the treat, and then they're already having fun and engaged. And so I think that's a really positive approach to it. Sometimes we go the other way and we want to dangle that carrot at the end of the runway. But we live in a time now when we are used to very immediate gratification that comes a lot from our screens. And so we have to adapt. I think that's a wonderful way to do it, is start with having fun and find fun online activities that your kids can do. So again, Starfall for ages 5 through 8. And here's another list of websites and things that they can go to: Go Noodle, ABC Mouse, and Storylines, where they can read stories and study. Ology is it's a natural history science website for kids. There's a lot. There's goodness, yeah. I think everyone has their own opinion about YouTube. I do want to share that YouTube, you can learn just about anything you want for free. If you want to learn the banjo, if you want to learn the violin. Now, as parents, you want to make sure and check out websites ahead of time so that you know what's on the website, look for any pitfalls that might be there, etc. But if your child has interests or talents, I would invite them. I would just invite them to explore them. And you can do this on a weekly basis with your kids just by sitting down and saying, hey, why don't we try this week? And depending on the kid. Now, I have a daughter who, by April, she's 18 now, but every year she'd have her list. Her list of books she's going to read, the play she's going to be in, the things she wants to do. And then, I didn't have to do any work except get her there, right? And so, or get her the materials. But I also have a son who's 15 now, and everything I suggest, no, not what he's interested in. And so that's a little bit more tricky, but inviting, encouraging, and eventually they'll find something they're interested in. He's interested in football now, so we do that. If any of you have ever had a picky kid, picky eater, you just keep putting the food on the table. Eventually, it might be 10 years, but eventually they'll try it. I've experienced that. Okay, Duolingo's great for languages, and it's set up where they get points and things like that. And my son, my 10-year-old, has been studying Greek. His sister was studying Greek, and so he did. So that's one of the great things about siblings. It's a way of connecting. They're studying Greek together. Now, my older boys, one of the things I shouldn't say older, all of my sons, I have 7 sons, and they connect online. My oldest is 32, and he's an attorney. My youngest is 10, and I've got everywhere in between there. But they still connect online through playing games. And I have to tell you, that does my heart really good, because I had this fear of having children, they were close together, but, still spread out. 22-year age gap between the oldest and youngest, but they'll play Minecraft together and different things online. They also play laser tag. All of my sons have played laser tag together. This is a way to keep families connected. Catherine asks, how do I find the blog? And so, Chelsea, if you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat, that would be awesome. The link to that. And has the webinar started? Yes, we have started. If you can hear me, then you're on it. I hope you can hear me. All right. If you can't, Margaret, then go ahead and post in the chat box. Okay. And Chelsea will see if she can help you out. All right. So one of the ways that we can use the internet in a positive way and not isolate, right, is by being on things together. I don't know if you've ever had the chance to sit in the same room with your family and send each other memes, even though you're right there, or a group text or things. And that's kind of fun. Even though you're in the same room, because sending a meme's a little bit different than, just making a comment to each other. You get that whole visual. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So don't be afraid to use our social media and our online presence to connect, because that's what it's made for. A lot of times we think, oh, we're just so disconnected because of it. Let's change that. Let's reconnect through changing the activities that we're doing on there. One of the, my son has a game that we play when we go to his house. We all need our devices and phones. I want to say it's Quelf, but it's not Quelf. That's a board game we play. It's something Q-Box or something. I'm going to have to find it. It's been a while since we played it, but it's something where we all play online. And oh my goodness, the word will come to me. I just had thought of it, or I would have posted it on here. I'd forgotten we'd played that, and it's so much fun where we all get to put our ideas up there on the screen, and then we judge them, and We'll get points and stuff. I'll think of that. I might text my son real quick and ask him what it's called. Okay, list of virtual field trips. Okay, you will find on the blog a bunch of virtual field trips. So in my teaching, like during COVID, this is when I first discovered it. I moved from teaching in person to teaching online, and I was teaching American history. I thought, oh, I want it to come alive as much as possible. I found that most of our American history sites and many other places now have virtual field trips. And so we toured Monticello, which is the home of Thomas Jefferson, and Mount Vernon, which was George Washington's home. So it's you can move around in it. You can walk in the house, you can explore the gardens, you can go upstairs and turn and go into all the different rooms, walk through Thomas Jefferson's library. I mean, he donated most of his library to the Library of Congress, but his personal library is still there. Just incredible. What an incredible man he was, and scholar. And you can, let's see, you can go visit the Louvre in Paris, France. You can visit the science and history museums and the Scripps Aquarium, things like that, where maybe you can't go and take your family and afford to take them this summer, but you can literally give your children the world online if you know where to look and if you're intentional about it. And I think intention and planning is the key to having a great summer. And I don't mean that from the standpoint of, as parents, we micromanage and say, we're going to do this, but it's like putting out this huge banquet of food. We do this every New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve. Instead of sitting down to a formal dinner on those nights, we put out an enormous thing of food and we say, come and eat. And we invite the friends and family, come and eat. And then everyone takes part of what they want. And it's wonderful, instead of saying, okay, you're just going to eat this tonight. So we can do that online too. Invite your kids. Hey, let's do this. And if you have one of those smart TVs, I don't have a smart TV because we don't really watch TV. But if you have a smart TV, you can tour Jamestown on a huge screen, not just a little computer or phone or whatever. All right. So that's one of the things I would highly encourage you to do is, have your kids envision, if we could take a trip anywhere. Oh, this is something that's so fun to do. Go ahead and plan a trip somewhere and then see what you can find online, even though you can't go there physically. That would be a blast. Okay. So a little bit older kids. Okay. These are 13-year-olds. They want money, don't they? I was that way. My son right now, he's 15. He wants money. And so he's actually going to get a job washing the vans for St. George Shuttle. So he's going to go every day and help wash those and clean them out really well. His older brother did that. And we have friends that work there. And that's a great thing for him to do, to earn money for the other things he wants to do, which is football. Football's expensive. Okay. And so in the blog, there's a bunch of ideas for kids' businesses, a bunch of websites they can go to find ideas. Khan Academy. Khan Academy is free, and they have really added onto it. If you haven't been onto Khan Academy lately, they have tech classes. One of my sons right now, he's learning coding on Khan Academy. I just can't believe how many classes and things they have to learn now compared to several years ago when we were using it. We started again this year to get on it and to help with some math and things because they have videos. And so if you want to keep some math skills alive, set a goal. Have your child say, hey, what would you like if you did half an hour of math every day? What would you want at the end of it? Or if you accomplish this, what would you like at the end of it? Maybe they want a week with no chores. Maybe they want a new skateboard or new school clothes, or I don't know what. Make a deal with them. And and see what they can accomplish. That's a great place to dangle a carrot, right? And to set a goal. Have that long-term goal in place, and then small incremental goals to get there. Long-term is I want you to be able to stay on task with your math or reading or whatever by the time school starts, and your incremental is 30 minutes a day or an hour of reading a day. And then this is your reward, right? And you don't have to have a long-term reward. You can say, okay, if you do it each week, you do it, then Friday night you can have a late night with your friends or whatever. I think every child has things that they value, and so that's the place where you find that out, and then that's a great place to work from, creating that vision of what they can become and how they can get there. Also, now's the time to start looking at colleges, and there's free ACT prep. Now, a lot of the universities are moving away from ACT and SAT. So my suggestion for that is that you start talking to your kids about what they might want to do after high school. Are they going to go to college? Where do they want to go to college? Maybe they have no idea. And so now's a good time to say, well, what are you looking at? My son was just asking me, do you think the University of Utah or Utah State has a better football program? Well, I already knew the answer to that, but we got online and looked. We looked up their programs and their histories and things like that, and their coaches. And then he was able to say, okay, well, I think I'm interested in this. And so we're looking at that. And so then you go and look, well, what do they require in order to get into that college? So even though you're not ready yet to apply to college, now's the time to start saying, where might I want to go and what are the requirements? So that you can plan their classes, help them plan their classes. Really, they need to own it. And this is a great way just by getting them to explore. Another thing they can do, and this has just been maybe just something in my family, but every time my children are ready to get their driver's permit, and now granted, they have been able to start the computer before they could practically walk, right? But every time they're like, Mom, I need you to go and make an appointment for me to get my permit. And I'm like, what's wrong with your fingers? Well, I don't know where to go. Can you Google it? Can you figure it out? I don't know what to do. I don't know. And so sometimes when it comes to practical uses of the computer and the things that we go on it for every day, they're a little hesitant. And so this is a good way when they really want something like a driver's permit. That's a great place to put a little pressure on them and a little responsibility on them for making that happen. It's going to take more effort on your part as a parent. That's the truth of it. Just like when they're little and wanting to do their own shoes and socks, and you're like, oh, I could just do this so much faster. But this is when they really want something, that's time to strike as a parent. That's the smart time to say, hey, I'm going to let you figure this out. Because our government websites are going to be safe. Let them figure out how to Google it and find the right one. And they can come back and ask you questions, but instead of doing it for them, this is a powerful, wonderful skill, life skill for them to have. So I really encourage that. And there's other things too, colleges and things like that. Now, if they're not that motivated towards it, then you might need to step in a little bit more and help. So knowing their motivations is really key. All right, so we talked about expanding the real world by touring the virtual one. So I want everyone to put in the chat box here, you could go anywhere this summer. Where would you go? Where would you take a trip? I'm going to put mine in too. Go ahead and type that in. There's mine, Edinburgh, Scotland. Alaska. Oh, good place to go during the summer. Love it. Rome, Italy. Ooh. Anyone else? Okay, some of you are thinking, Mexico City? Ah, my daughter just came back from Mexico, and I have a son down in Oaxaca, Mexico. I, Maria, do you have family there? Nice. Ooh, the Maine coast. Oh, that would be fabulous. Okay. Well, while you're all dreaming, I'm going to keep talking. So, plan your trip. I'm actually this December, after having 10 children and hardly ever going anywhere except the grocery store a million times a week. I'm going to New York City to see some plays and musicals. I'm so excited. They have a big museum of costumes there that I'm going to go and check out and go see some historical sites. Going to Maine to see a daughter. Oh, wonderful, Susan. Um, and so I'm planning that right now. I'm online planning my trip and looking at all the different places I can go, and I'm going to get there. We were actually going to go a couple years ago, and then COVID hit. So now I'm back in the planning stages. Get online and plan those things. Have your kids plan a trip. Something can't actually happen in our lives unless we think it first. And so if there's something they want to accomplish, they need to think it. If they want it to actually happen, they need to think it and then start imagining it in their lives and investing in it, investing some time into looking into it and imagining it and focusing on it. And then it'll happen. It has to start there before you even start with those goals, all those little things. Okay. So we want to learn to inspire initiative, okay, in our children, to seek out healthy habits in the real and virtual world. Okay, so what do those healthy habits look like? And we all might have different ideas for our own families, but I think it's important to have the idea of what it does look like. So I think a lot of times we have expectations that aren't vocalized. And the way to share with our children is to create a vision. We need vision and we need environment, I think, and we need invitations. So creating a vision for our family is having a good idea ourselves at first, like what we want it to look like, taste like, feel like, all of those things. And then sharing that with our family and saying, and this is what it looks like, and getting them excited about it, telling a story, and then how can we make that happen? And a lot of the times we go to scrolling on the phones. I'm not making a judgment that that's bad. I do it too sometimes. We go to the default because we don't have a plan of action. And so creating a vision is our plan of action, and it'll be easier to stay on target and to be using these healthy habits. If our plan is, okay, we want to know by the end of summer, have 5 different schools that you're interested in going to college. Maybe they're 10th grade, okay, or 8th grade. And what's your interest? Okay, my interest is band. I want to play the flute in a college marching band. I don't know. Okay. And so, well, let's look up what colleges have great marching bands that you might, which ones offer scholarships for flautists. I think that's how you say it, flautists. And start researching that. So that is going to start your children's brains thinking in a new direction. It'll start them thinking, okay, I can have a goal, and here's the steps I can take to meet that goal. And sometimes it's just little suggestions from you, but the overall vision of summer, and then those quick little weekly meetings with your kids. Okay, what are we going to do this week to meet this bigger goal? Sunday night's a great time. Whatever works for you, that's what works for us. It's a great time to have that. Sit down with some fruit or some and a yummy dip to put the fruit in or whatever, and sit down and have those conversations. Okay, and replace those habits, not by just saying, hey, we don't want to do this anymore. You don't even have to focus on the negative. Just virtually by choosing new habits, a lot of the old ones will just kind of wash off. Okay, so time awareness and accountability are important too. Those are skills we want our kids to have. We might still be working on those ourselves. So how do we foster that in our kids? This time awareness and accountability, because I think we all know, we probably all experience that we ourselves, and certainly our children, can be online and we think it's been half an hour, and it's been 3. I've seen that happen. And so by being aware of how much time we're spending, so how can we do that? So one thing you can do is you can ask your child you could create a little form that you print out each day and say, okay, you get freedom on the computer, but there's going to be accountability in that. You just have to write down, like, from this time to this time, I was on YouTube. From this time to this time, I was on Snapchat. Okay, depending on what your approved sites and apps are. Okay, and so that there you're not telling them, okay, you have to be on this website, you have to do this. But then at the end of that, you are coming back together and saying, okay, where's your accountability sheet? What did you do today? And how do you feel about that? Do you feel like you spent your time wisely? Would you have done anything different with your time today? That's one approach. That's one by asking the right questions, you get your child then to start thinking critically about their time. And you can ask, was there something that you wanted to do today that you didn't get to do? And if they say yes, why do you think that is? Maybe it's because they were online too long. And so if we do that without judgment, then our children will be able to be more honest with themselves and honest with you as parents. Once we start putting that harsh judgment on, because they really want to please us, even the most stubborn child or naughty, they really want to please their parents. They want to be thought of well by their parents. And so they don't want to disappoint us. So by letting them take ownership of their choices and being accountable without really punishment, but just like, okay, well, what did you choose? And what was the result? And did you like the result? What could you do better? What do you want to do better next time? That's a very natural way of guiding your children to a different outcome and to be more aware of their time. And not every way works for every child or every family. So that's one way. Another way would be to say, and I've had to do this for one child, is, okay, we did a color-coded chart. These are the hours that you can be on the computer or on screens. And I've had to limit that time because he's not good at self-limiting. Or you can have these apps only at this time. So that's one thing with Snapchat, because I found 1 week he was on Snapchat for 20 hours. And that's not okay. And so what we talked about, I said, wow, 20 hours. And so we discussed what could happen during those 20 hours. If you were making $7 an hour, how much money would you have? If you were working that. Oh, wow. I'd have $140. And so then time had more of a value for him, but still he's just one that I have to really keep clear boundaries. And so having clear boundaries of what's allowed when, that's another approach. And then they fill in that time with whatever that you've maybe agreed upon. And it's okay as parents too to say, no, we don't do this website, and I do not want you on this. That's part of your job as a parent, to decide those things and those boundaries. I'm not suggesting a free-for-all. And things will change as your children age, and boundaries will change. Because parenting is kind of this, pushing back and forth, right? All through the years. It changes, and it's almost harder on us as parents as it is on our kids. So there's a lot of ways of holding our children accountable without judgment, letting them take that position of, what can I do better? Am I meeting my goals? So having those goals are important to start with, and that's why we want to have those planning meetings. Okay, then finding balance through connecting online and in person. I taught a class earlier, and one of the things I asked them, I said, okay, who can come up with the best answer to where do you not want to use Snapchat? And so it was kind of fun because they came up with answers. Oh, at a funeral, yeah, you don't want to be in snapping like, hey, Grams, me and Grams, right? At her funeral. Or they said in labor and delivery. Of course, they said at school and things like that. But I think we all know there's certain times when it's appropriate to use certain apps and be online, and other times when it's not. If you're at a business meeting at work, you don't want to be playing Tetris or Candy Crush, right? That's not appropriate. So finding that balance is really crucial. And so what does that balance look like in your family? It's going to depend on age. It's going to depend on your family circumstances as well. And then in person, how can we change? Let's go back. How can we change what we're doing online to have more connection? The whole social network in many ways has become very unsocial because of our tone, because of things we post or the way that we answer and things like that. So how can we change that? So talking about tone, and we talk about that when we're writing in school, but we need to use that with our social media as well. How can we use social media in a positive way to benefit other people? We can, I encourage my students, hey, reach out to your grandma on Facebook this week. Send her a cute cat meme or something she loves, and reach out and let her know that you're thinking about her. Use it for positive ways. Okay. And then, like I said, my sons connect online. They're in different places now. They don't all live in my home. And that's a wonderful way to stay in touch with friends and things like that. My thoughts of gaming have changed over the years. It really has become less isolating and more of a way to connect with others, but hopefully connecting with people they know. And then creating space to explore. Kids need to get outside and play and run, getting to the park. It's nice. I can take my work with me sometimes to the park while my son plays, because, I've got hotspot. I can take my laptop, and sometimes I get out and play with him, but sometimes I got to work. But what we want to do is that those feelings that we had back from our childhood, those good positive feelings that we remembered at the beginning, we want our children to be able to have those as well. And they live in a different world. And so we have to find creative ways to be able to give them this vacuum of time in which they can lay on a bank and stare at the clouds and find the pictures in the clouds. That's not nearly as exciting as, all these pictures that are already made for them online. So, but it's those are the times that we remember, is laying with our best friend, riding our bike out down to the park and laying on the field and picking the dandelions and blowing them, listening to the birds and feeling the hot sun on our face and just really enjoying ourselves. And yes, we were bored, and I think that's important. Boredom's a vacuum in which we can create. If everything that we're consuming is already created for us, there's no reason or time for us to create. And creationism I think it's a vital life force. It is for me, for sure. And that's why I work in the theater, one of the reasons. But let's bring those back, okay? So make sure that you check out the blog. It's going to be up today. Oh, let's see. Shirley said, Radio City Music Hall has tours of backstage. Fantastic. Oh, thank you. I will check that out when I go, because I am going to New York City. I'm so excited. So we're going to have another on June 13th, and that is going to be how to improve students' learning on devices as a parent or educator. So that's going to be a great one. Oh, and then let's see, we have our registration link right up there. So you can go ahead and get registered for that. And look forward to that. Put that date on your calendar, virtual or physical. I still use the physical calendar. I'm old school. But June 13th at 1 p.m. Don't miss that. And then if you have questions or requests or anything else we can help you with, please email us and make sure you check out that blog post. Let's see. And did we have a link to that up here at all, to the main page? Let's see. Oh, there it is. Oh, no, that's a registration. Sorry, I'm just looking. Okay, the blog post will be posted later. Let me see if I can find and post real quick what the website for that. I had Shalise send that to me. Okay, it's going to be at, I'll put it in here. Did anyone have any questions that they wanted to ask before we get off? I hope that should bring you to the blog page, and the blog that I have with all the suggestions and ideas will be put up later today. So do we have any questions or comments about our topic today? Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And there's a lot more ideas on the blog and hopefully links. I think I put links in there so you could click right on them and go to different websites. I hope that that's there. If not, you'll just have to Google it. You know how to Google, right? You know how to use the internet. Oh, you're welcome, Shirley. Again, create that vision. Get them excited about what could happen this summer, and then help create that environment to make that happen. Otherwise, summer's just going to go by like every other summer, right? But make this summer a summer to really remember, the summer that they will look back in 20 or 30 years and say, wow, I remember the summer of 2023. We really didn't go anywhere, but we went everywhere. We tried we just had such a good time. Clarina asked for the recorded session. Shalise, I'll refer that to Shalise. I don't actually know if we do that. Hopefully. But I'll write your name down, Clarina, and I'll follow up on that. So, but a lot of the information I've given also is going to be, the replay will be sent following the end of the webinar. Okay, wonderful. But also check out that blog, because I have a lot of that information written down there. So, okay. A carousel in Central Park too. Oh, thanks, Shirley. Appreciate it. I appreciate that. So excited to go. After 32 years of raising kids, I get to go somewhere. All right. Thank you all. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful summer with your families. Have a great day. Thank you.